The new cover story for The Atlantic takes a deep dive into the current era of new political violence in America. Recent incidents we've seen include, of course, the January 6th attack of the United States Capitol, the plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and the intruder who broke into Nancy Pelosi's California home and brutally attacked her husband, Paul Pelosi, with a hammer. Author and executive editor of The Atlantic, Adrienne LaFrentz, writes in part, in recent years, Americans have contemplated a worst-case scenario in which the country's extreme and widening divisions lead to a second civil war. But what the country is experiencing now and will likely continue to experience for a generation or more is something different. The form of extremism we face is a new phase of domestic terror, one characterized by radicalized individuals with shape-shifting ideologies willing to kill their political enemies. Unchecked, it promises an era of slow-motion anarchy. Adrienne joins us now. Her cover story in The Atlantic is titled, The New Anarchy. America faces a type of extremist violence it does not know how to stop. Adrienne, thanks for being with us to talk about this morning. Before we think about some solutions here and how we might change this trajectory we're on, let's talk about how we got here and how bad it is. You've really went into some deep reporting for this story, been working on it for a long time. What did you find that clearly troubled you so as you wrote the piece?
Well, I set out in the beginning, I wanted to sort of understand how to break the fever. And very early on in my reporting, it became clear that this isn't something, sort of the conditions that make a society vulnerable to political violence aren't ones that go away easily or quickly. And it became clear to me that this was really a generation or generations long thing that we're in. And then from there, it became a question of how do we avoid, frankly, further bloodshed. And so the disturbing quality, I think, I mean, there are a lot of disturbing things about this, is the sort of how do you endure without further bloodshed? And then this question of how do you also get through it as a society without government overreach in some cases? I mean, when you look to the past, there's a lot of cases of civil liberties being infringed on as a way of getting through eras of political violence. So those are two that come to mind at the outset.
You also write about some of the violence we saw in places like Portland in the wake of the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. That violence, whatever side you're on, has become, I don't want to say an acceptable outlet, but to some people, I guess, yes, it has been a way to express their anger with what's happening in the country.
Right. And this is really disturbing, sort of the normalization of violence. And I think it's important. I want to say that, I wrote about violence erupting from the far right, from the far left. But when you look at what's happening, it really is extremist right-wing violence that scholars who look at this most closely are most worried about. And so it's not sort of that it's equal on all sides. And there is also, a phenomenon that's new to this era, which is very troubling. And that's that you've had a powerful mainstream party in the Republican Party really inciting and endorsing, including among the then sitting president in Donald Trump, this kind of violence. And you saw that this weekend in his remarks at CPAC. And so the idea that a powerful party is sort of cheering on this violence is different and dangerous.
So, Adrienne, we heard from Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene in recent days calling for a national divorce. And in your piece, you suggest that a second civil war, once unthinkable, now at least is something that some people believe can't be completely ruled out. Walk us through your thinking on that, what you found, and where these acts of violence may grow more common.
So I actually think, I mean, the notion of a civil war obviously looms large in the national memory and in the national imagination, but I actually think that's a sort of limited or constrained framework for us to understand the threats that we face today. I think we're far less likely to have sort of cleanly or geographically delineated camps fighting against each other in the way that we did in the 19th century. And more than that is what may seem like random acts of violence, but in fact is a new kind of domestic terrorism that we're already facing. And so I mention this in part because there is this tendency sometimes to sort of ask how close are we to the next civil war? And my worry is that by sort of waiting for that outcome, we're not properly addressing the danger that is already all around us.
Adrienne Elise Jordan here. In your article, you talk about the years of lead in Italy and the violence in Italy in the 1980s. And you write that finally it ended, it was fueled by a poor economy, and then people got sick of it. What do you foresee in America? Do you think that economic inequality here is contributing to the political unrest?
Absolutely. I think you see this again and again throughout history. When economic conditions are poor, people often feel like they have no other option but to turn to violence or to an extreme. And so certainly a stronger economy and a less highly visible wealth gap would be better for our country, just for people, it would be better in and of itself, but it also would help protect against this sort of violence.
We have just scratched the surface of this deeply reported piece. It's the cover story for the new issue of The Atlantic. Executive editor Adrienne LaFrance, thanks so much for bringing it to us. We appreciate it.